Okay, hi everybody. Thanks so much for coming. This is wonderful. I'm Silke, and
I'm Rolf.
This is Rolf, and our dog Kai, we unfortunately had to leave at home. So before we go into the presentation, I would like to know how many of you already drive an electric car? Raise your hand. And how many are considering or thinking about it? Good.
Wow, that's good.
And how many power their house with solar energy? Raise your hand. Great, wow. And how many are considering it? Wow, that's a great turnout. Thanks so much. Okay, before we get into our trip, I would like to let you know that we're not planning to sell you anything. We love our car and trailer, but we neither work for Tesla nor do we work for Safari Condo. And we're not endorsed or sponsored by them. Even if they had offered, we would have turned it down because we wanted to do our trip and we wanted to tell the story the way we see it and not somebody else wants us to see it. Awesome. Thank you. So let me explain what the challenge was. First of all, we were going to drive an electric car, which for many is still quite an alien concept. Then on top of that, we were going to tow a trailer, which has quite an impact on the range of an electric car. And we didn't pick a small country. We actually were planning to cross Canada, and the EV charging infrastructure in Canada is in some areas not ideal. And so this was such a huge challenge that obviously some newspaper proofreader thought, that can't be it. They're not going to cross the country, they're going to cross the county. So this is our route from west to east. We started here at mile 0 and we ended in mile 0 in St. John's. And this has been done, crossing Canada in an electric car has been done many, many times before us, just so far never with a camping trailer. And to show you one example of a problem we were going to face, this shows you all the Tesla Superchargers in North America. And between Calgary and Ontario, there is a huge gap of 4,500 kilometers. So by doing this, we were going to talk about it, make it public, because our hope was to educate about sustainable energy and transportation, to show what can already be done today, and to hopefully inspire others to start thinking outside the box. Because with what's going on with climate change right now, we believe that our children, the next generation, deserves a decent planet. And so ultimately our objective was to promote sustainable energy and transportation.
All right. Now I have to get really small. Can you hear me now? Okay. Just to fill in, you saw the gap there in the Tesla Superchargers for the 4,500 kilometers. That meant no fast chargers whatsoever. There's not even CHAdeMOs or CCS, as you will hear later on. All right, so the preparation. The preparation was a big rush because we got the car and the trailer just short time before we left on our trip. I installed 800 watts of semi-flexible solar panels on the top of the roof there, so you can see that. And that was because whenever we came, we were trying to be good cowboys going through the prairies, right? So you always feed the horse first, and then you look after yourself. So for us, that meant that the car gets plugged in at any campground or whatever else we have, and the trailer may have to just run by itself for us. And what we also tested at home was a emergency charging of the car. And that actually works, but it works just the same speed as a power outlet here would work, which means 3-4 kilometers per hour. So of course the sun that we tank during the day has to go somewhere. So while we're driving, hopefully through the sunshine, not today, our batteries will be charged and will be full when we arrive in the campground. The batteries that are installed are lithium batteries, and the ones that you see there replace about 6 to 8 deep cycle batteries that you normally use in a trailer. So we got the car 5 days before we left. And immediately we had Andrew over there, lassoed in, and we went all through the sightseeing spots of Victoria, and luckily the weather agreed, and we took all the pictures that we needed for our promotion stuff that we needed. Thank you, Andrew. Great help. Then we thought, okay, we better do a test drive before we actually leave. So we went up to Black Creek near Courtenay, between Courtenay and Campbell River. And I thought, well, no problem, island, 90 kilometers per hour is relatively slow, so I do that, or maybe 85, a little bit under the speed limit, but not too low. And pretty quickly we ran low on energy already. That trailer has more of a windbreak than we thought. We stopped at the visitor center at the entrance to Courtenay and realized that the charging there was beyond slow. Luckily down the road, looking onto an application that I will talk about later on, we found wavework distillation, and they were running about 3 times quicker, so we were able to get the last 20 kilometers we needed to make it all the way to my brother's place. All right.
Okay, let's start with the send-off, amazing send-off at Mile Zero here. We had so many friends coming. It was awesome. It was great. It was hard to say goodbye, but it was a great event. And we had Czech News and CTV out there, and we're getting ready to leave. And then we had arranged for an electric car convoy to the ferry. And just before the ferry, we all came together in a parking lot. And while the cars were driving in,
in the right lane, those were all electric cars on the highway.
Well, all the electric cars, all the cars you see here are electric cars. And I was standing at the entrance to the parking lot, and all those electric cars were driving by me. And I couldn't hear a single thing, and I couldn't smell anything. And to me, that was actually one of the most memorable moments of the whole trip. It was unbelievable. So in British Columbia, we took a little bit of time. We didn't do too much yet. We had a little meetup in North Vancouver. We had another one in Kamloops to show our car and trailer, just like we're doing today. And the rest was just camping with family, and we very much enjoyed Wells Gray Park. And I'm just showing you a few pictures here. I took so many amazing pictures of nature during this trip. I could easily fill an hour or more just with those, but that would be a little bit off topic. But here, just to give you an idea, this is how we then in the afternoon worked on our presentations and social media, and we had some really beautiful spots there.
All right, time to get earnest, leaving British Columbia, going to Alberta. My wife, in her wisdom, wanted to do both Jasper and Banff National Park, which meant in British Columbia we had to go north through Clearwater and Ted John Cache and come in from the north from Jasper. And there we met some really nice people that are very early adopters. They have a early 2013 or early 2012 Leaf that they drive up there in the cold, and it's holding up really great for them. And of course, everywhere, you've probably seen it out front, you open the Falcon Wing doors or the hood, everybody wants to see the V8 under the hood, which I actually later on managed, which was a V8 juice can. People really like that. I lost it somewhere. I was looking for it 2 weeks ago on the way back, and I couldn't find it. No, I emptied it so it would not spill. But you know what? Tesla service in Florida probably thought it was garbage and took it away. And we actually managed to get a hike into some lakes up there. And then we start with the National Park Challenge. Here we see one of our applications that shows from the green dot from Jasper to Lake Louise in the south. And that's 235 kilometers, but as you can see, over here, we're actually passing one pass. That's Columbia Ice Field. No, yeah, that's Columbia destination is quite a bit higher than this. So this stretches to, on flat ground, this was stretched to about 260 kilometers. So that's a challenge. We started out driving 40, 45 kilometers always on the side. Luckily, they have this little emergency stopping lane just in case there's some wildlife where people can stop. There was no wildlife that day, so I could just drive on that and let everybody pass without getting too frustrated.
There are no chargers on the way.
Yes, I didn't realize, but everything in the park is powered by generators. There's no hydro going in there. So nobody does have a charging station. And if they, we stopped for lunch, an hour lunch, and we added about 5 kilometers with a regular outlet to our range. Anyway, we made it to Lake Louise, but then we had a little bit of a problem. We were supposed to take the blue route, but in the wisdom, our navigation system told us to take the red route, except the red route leads to a gate right next to the highway, which is probably an emergency gate just in case there's a fire sweeping through, so you can leave the campground through the back door, but it's always locked. So I had to make a U-turn on a highway, go back very slowly, because at that point we only had about 3 or 4 kilometers left, and we made it.
Yes. So here are some pictures from our time at Lake Louise and Banff. Yeah, I'm responsible for the relaxing part here. So we did a great hike. We had lots of fun. We had an amazing campground with a wonderful view. Kai met a kind of weird thing in the city of Banff. And of course, we also checked out the local EV charger.
All right, I usually get to do the technical stuff here, as you may have noticed. PV Mart. PV Mart is an interesting company. If you don't know it, it's something like a Canadian Tire for the prairies, where people buy their tools, but also farming equipment, farm seeds, and so on. And they're real visionaries. And we met Jeff there in Red Deer. And so they are going heavily into solar, and every one of the PV Marts has a Sun Country Highway charger. And that looks like this. So that's Alberta and Saskatchewan, and I just saw there's one near Kamloops as well now. So it makes a mix. These are all the chargers that you find in that area, and over half of them are actually PV Mart. So really big thanks to them. While we were in Alberta, in oil country, we thought that we would join some of the car show nights, and so to our surprise, at every one of those car shows, there were quite a number of EVs there as well, which was really nice. So you could see the smallest, like the smart car in the middle there. But right behind you see a black truck, which is this one here on the left. That's actually similar to a Volt. It always rides on electricity, but it has a big generator in front. So it's not the typical hybrid where you actually have a gasoline engine driving the wheels. This one always runs on electricity. It's always the electric motor driving the wheels, but it has a generator. And then, of course, at every big, exhausting day, you have to have a little bit of a treat. Then we also went to Red Deer to a car show. Again, we stole the thunder from the big polished up race cars there. Everybody was just collecting around our electric cars, which was really nice to see. And like almost every show we had from there on, we had big thunderstorms rolling in. It was weird. But then we also got to see some dinosaurs. And we feel like we should leave the dinosaur juice in the ground and not do that. Rather look more into the future and drive everything electrically or on dilithium crystals. All right, that's still me. I'm getting tired bending down here. Yeah, well, So, yeah, EVs, just the technicalities behind it. You find all kinds of what they call FUD, fear, uncertainty, and distrust, quite often paid for by the oil industry like the Koch brothers. And they're trying to tell you that EVs are not really as clean as everybody says they are, but they are as clean. So from cradle to grave, they are much cleaner than a gasoline car. And there's lots of data out there that supports that, including this one from the Union of Concerned Scientists, that the extra emissions associated with the manufacturing is rapidly offset within the first months. And I saw some recent studies for a Leaf and a Tesla from a German institute, and that is between 3 and 6 months. And what most people that try to tell you that, you know, driving an electric car from coal is not so good, electricity made from coal, they forget to tell you that every gallon of gasoline, that's American gallon, takes about 6 kilowatt hours of electricity. Now, the EPA says that the average range with 1 gallon of the North American car is 24 miles. You can drive our car without the trailer for 20 miles already, and the Bolt that's sitting out there for more than 24 miles. So just with the electricity that is in any amount of gasoline, you can drive an electric car almost as far if it's a big one, if it is a smaller one, further. There's more electricity in gasoline than you need to drive an electric car. So Elon Musk says, if we stop refining gasoline, we have more than enough electric power to power all our electric cars. And, you know, once you drive an electric car, and I think everybody here in the room that has driven one, like even Richard has driven my car, right? Are they fun? They are fun. And they are really convenient because every morning you wake up to a full tank. You don't have to go to a gas station. And the full tank cost me about $8. That's not including my solar because I'm filling it with solar now. From now on, after the investment, it is for free for me. And of course, the big thing is the instant acceleration. And it's so much fun to see that. I had people in the car that were total petrol heads, and they were just blown away by that. So for the electric vehicles, you can get much more information than I can give you here right now. For the longer range cars, it's really right now the Teslas and the Chevy Bolt. All the other cars are shorter range cars. But if you have 2 cars in the family, you should really have 1 electric car. There's nothing. The long range, we're talking 400 kilometers plus, or at least 350. The Bolt is 230 or something, right? 380. Sorry? 380 kilometers, yeah. So around 400. The 100D out there is over 500. They have driven it over 500. It's not the EPA rating, but you can easily beat the EPA rating with an electric car. Try that with a gasoline car. Very, very difficult. Well, the Nissan Leafs are somewhere around 100 and 120 kilometers, and the E-Smart as well out there. I drove the E-Smart for 6 weeks. Thank you, Bert. It was just a blast.
Okay, from here we're going into Saskatchewan, and there's a lot that happened in Saskatchewan, just like in every province, but unfortunately we can't talk about it all. We had a great time in Yorkton, we had a great time in Moose Jaw, but here I would like to concentrate on our Saskatoon Meetup. We actually had 2 because we were working together with Sun Country Highway for the first time. We met Kent Rathwell, and he's the founder and president of Sun Country Highway. And Rolf did an interview with him, which you can watch on our YouTube channel. It's very interesting. So he's an amazing guy. He built up the longest electric highway in the world, and it all started with bird seeds. And when I heard that, I just couldn't believe it. So what happened here, Kent took over a company that produced bird seeds, and he wanted to turn it into an economically, socially, and environmentally responsible company. And that included transporting the bird seeds to the PV marts, that's where the PV marts come in again, in an electric fleet. And that, of course, means that at the end, when you deliver, you need to charge your electric fleet, and that brings it all together. This is why PV Mart has all the chargers, I mean, initially. And from there, it developed on and on and on to the longest electric highway at that point. And the amazing thing is that none of those chargers were funded by any governmental institution. It was all done through private funding.
And they're all free.
And they're all free. And for us, the only problem was, and we get into that a little bit later, they're all slow chargers. So we'll see what happens next when we don't know what Sun Country Highway has planned, but I think the next step would be turning it all over to fast chargers.
Okay, so because the chargers during the day with our double consumption, as you will hear later on, were a little bit too slow for us. For smaller cars and without it being a trailer, the level 2 chargers are okay, but not for us. So we were always looking for campgrounds to stay at, so we would wake up to a full tank again in the morning. And when we were looking for it, we always tried to look for one that had, if possible, a little bit of an environmental theme. And probably the best one we found was the Onanola campground on Clear Lake in northern Manitoba. It was already. Could also be eastern Saskatchewan. One of the two. Canada is a big country. Anyway, so they have lots of solar panels. This is less than half of them, which attracted us. They didn't have a charger that would have been nice, would have been good for us, but they promised to install it. And as we arrived there, they were just actually installing a 50 amp charger for us. And of course, you open the car and everybody starts looking at it. It's an absolutely stunning place. And this is run by a guy who has just retired from the oil patch. Really nice. And even Kai enjoyed it. Our car is in the back there, and it's happily charging from the freshly installed 50 amp charger. So let's talk about charging. When you get an EV and you have your own home, you have your own garage, then you charge at home. Almost all the time. When was the last time you went up island or left the island and went really far? It's probably for most people quite a while ago. But you probably drive a lot around town. You drive up to Sydney or drive up to Langford and something like that. And then nothing beats an electric car because it's just the best. It's easy to find the charging station. Coming back. Too late. So how long does it take to change a car? When people ask me, I say, charge a car. It takes 8 seconds. 4 seconds to plug in and 4 seconds to unplug. Because in the meantime, I'm at home having dinner, snoring in bed, as my wife tells me, and in the morning, it's fully charged again. The one thing that we need, and that is being solved to a certain extent in Holland, is that we need lamppost chargers. Because as all the lampposts out there get converted from the these halogen lamps to LEDs that will use a lot less power. So every one of those lampposts could support 2 slow chargers that give you 100, 150 kilometers overnight, and that's all you really need. All they need is a plug there and somehow to charge you for it. Come on. Here we go. So, overnight charging at home. Of course, there's the typical wall outlet. It's good enough for city cars. When I was borrowing Bert's daughter's Smart for several weeks before my car came in, I was intentionally only using the wall outlet to figure it out, and it absolutely worked fine for me. I had the bigger, the lower one, the stove outlet in my garage, obviously for my Tesla and for Silke's Tesla, but I did not use that one. I used just the regular one, and it worked just fine for me. Every morning I had enough to run all my errands in town. So what you need in the garage really is either a dryer or a stove outlet. And when we visit family in Vancouver or in Kamloops or so, I have an extension cord for the dryer outlet, and that's the first thing I do. I say, remove the dryer. You have drying to do it now or after we leave. And then I plug in my car, and next morning I have a full charge, and I can go wherever I want. Now, when you're on the road, there's the slow charging. As we said, this is a Sun Country Highway charger. There are similar chargers out there. And that takes 4 to 12 hours, depending on what this charger can, the charge point can provide, and what you have in your car. So that's something to look out for when you buy a car. How fast is the charger that's actually in the car? On the other hand, if we have the fast charging, then the charger is outside of the car. And then we can go a lot quicker, because now you have big systems sitting out there that you don't want to carry around. And there are really two different systems. CHAdeMO CCS, they have different connectors, but otherwise they are almost identical. And most charging stations, as the one at the left down there, those are the CHAdeMO and CCS charge connectors. And then there's also a slow charger in this case. So this one has 3 points. And then we have the Tesla Superchargers that are almost, more than twice as fast as the CHAdeMO CCS. The difficulty that we find with the CHAdeMO CCS when we used them rarely, but we had to, and sometimes we also wanted to try them out, is that you get there and you don't have the right card, because there's literally dozens of companies in North America. There's 3 or 4 on the island alone. And you have to have the right card, or you have to call the 1-800 number and be online there and put in your credit card information. And then you plug in, and then you check, because we went into a mall, and 30 minutes later it stopped charging. Why does it stop charging? What's going on? You only get 30 minutes. For my car, that's not nearly enough, 30 minutes on 50 kilowatt hours. So with a Tesla, it's completely different. They really do a good job, because it's the same as at home. You take the thing, plug it in. That's it. There's no buttons to press, no nothing. Just as you've learned at home.
Is there any price difference in what they charge you between the chargers in terms of to fill up your car, or like to charge your car?
Well, some of them are free. Some of them are charged for, and usually the ones that are charged for, compared to what you pay at home, are quite expensive. Quite often they're charging 40, 50 cents a kilowatt hour. It's still okay. It's still cheaper than gasoline for the same distance that you need. But Tesla, it used to be, for the older cars, it's free. Any car that you order now, you get about just under 2,000 kilometers equivalent energy free per year. And after that, you have to pay, but Tesla charges a lot less. And you just put something in your Tesla, you put a credit card in the Tesla account. And if you don't, then you just, when you next time take a car to the service, they say, oh, by the way, you had $25 in electricity charges. So here we're looking at the Supercharger development. So the picture with very little is from 2014. This is for Tesla Superchargers, and then 2017. It just shows you, just because today you wouldn't be able to do a certain trip with your electric car, tomorrow you most likely can. And probably on that gap, there's already some group working on trying to get that charger in there that is missing. Like we've been working on Tesla for the longest time to get one mid-island, and it's supposed to be coming this year.
So, let's move into Manitoba. What you can see here before I start the video, there is a lot of charges right around Winnipeg, but almost no charges anywhere else. The green dots are the slow charges, and the blue dots are actually home chargers, so private chargers from people's garage that they offer via an app, PlugShare, for people who need it. And we had to look one up, so in that, because of that, we met Ryan and Amanda, and we ended up charging in their garage. And they offer their private charger because the city where they live doesn't do anything. They talked to them many, many times about putting in an EV charger, and nothing was happening. So then they know it's needed, and they want to help others. So they offer their own private
And you see
garage.
the majority of chargers outside of Winnipeg is all home chargers. So it's people that own an EV that supply their chargers because
Do you want to make that a little louder? So that was in Portage La Prairie. And here Rolf is backing up into their garage. We dropped off the trailer before. Picture with them. And as a thank you, we took them out for lunch. We had a great time. And, well, we thought we had charged enough when we left there, but it should have been. But in the end, we got a little bit, or Rolf got a little bit confused because as soon as we put the trailer on, our range dropped dramatically. And we decided to go anyway. It's not. So this was one of the nail biters we had. For me, that was a real nail biter. Is not an iPhone battery. If it tells you there's 1% left, there is 1% left. And all I wanted us to get over that other road and into there, because then we could just push. Rolf could push the car and I would steer, because that was almost at the campground. We switched off the air conditioning. We drove extra slow, and we made it with exactly 1 kilometer range left. So that was another nail biter that we had here. Okay, Rolf?
range. So, talking about some numbers now, it may be a little bit boring, but some people may be interested in it. So our car without a trailer, we do 415. That means driving highway speed and having the air conditioning on. Most superchargers are maybe 250 kilometers apart, so it takes about 3 hours to drive that. So you don't need a full battery. So if you go to a supercharger, you just charge enough, and that's about 20 to 25, maybe 30 minutes to make it to the next one, and then that's the way you go. But with the trailer, we are definitely less than 250. Well, to make 250, we have to go slow already. So here are some numbers. So if we're doing 90 kilometers per hour on flat ground, no headwind, no snow, no rain, 180 kilometers. And then we really checked it out to about 250, and that's 70 and less. Most of the times I'm actually driving 60. We can probably stretch it in the ideal conditions to 300, but that is maximum speed of 50, maybe less than that. But there's a little bit to relax, because I said, first of all, as Silke said, this is from a leaf here, the management systems of the batteries are pretty accurate. And if anything, they usually err on the safety side. Most many Tesla owners say that they have gone like to -5 or -10. I did not want to try that with a trailer behind. Becomes a little bit more cumbersome to get towed. With a Tesla, actually, when you put in a destination, it gives you an estimated graph of what the power consumption will be, and I'll explain that over here. Maybe I do something new for me. So we're leaving here at about 90% full, and the gray one is which Tesla estimated we will be using. And this is actually going up to Mount Shasta, which is pretty high up. And then we go down the hill. We're charging again because you see that the battery gets fuller, 54% to about 57%. But because we are towing the trailer and I'm going maybe a little bit faster than this one has considered, it changes my prediction depending on what I'm using. And right now, initially it said I would arrive at about 35%. Now it's estimating 28%. And as you change your speed, every minute it will adjust. So you can very well just say, I'm not making it, or I'm only arriving with 5. That's too close. Let's go a little slower. And you immediately see your change going up to 6, 7, 8%, and so on. So go like a snail and you make it.
And moving over into Ontario. So as you can see on this map, we were coming up to fast charging country, but we still had about 1,800 kilometers to go to get there. And everything in between the Manitoba border and the fast chargers was slow charging. And that's actually a pity because, I mean, people live in the populated area, but they vacation around the lake, and it doesn't help with EV adoption if you can't really make it there. And just to make it really clear, the problem with the slow chargers is only if you're driving long range. If you want to actually get some kilometers behind you, because it's inconvenient to stop in the middle of the day for 3 to 5 hours to charge your car. It's super easy if you can stay for the night. And this is why we ended up with the campground hopping, because we would go as far as the battery would take us and then stop at a slow charger for the night in the campground. That's how we made it through that stretch. But Ontario is planning to install more fast chargers, and hopefully they will install them next to the lakes where people want to vacation. Here are some more pictures. Gorgeous again, beautiful place, amazing places we picked as campgrounds. This was actually one of my favorite waterfalls, small one, but beautiful. And this was a beautiful campground too. And we even got this kind of environment. So while we were going through the slow charging area, even though we didn't want or didn't have to charge in the middle of the day, we still stopped just to try things out. This is at a hotel, and we were trying out the Tesla charger, and it wasn't working. So Rolf got his tools out, tried to fix it. We're always happy to help, and that didn't work, so Rolf ended up calling Tesla, and they were promising to, get on this, because the thing is, once you plan to stop at this charger, it has to work. And so businesses... Yeah, you can see two. You can see the Sun Country Highway one, and I mean, they're both Sun Country Highway, but the right one is the Tesla specific charger. And here, this was a weekend. It was an engineering company that provided a wall charger. And this was one of the rare times where we actually had to stop in the middle of the day to charge. Otherwise, we would not have made it to the next campground. And because Rolf screwed up, I guess?
No, because it was one of the few campgrounds where one did not manage to jury rig something.
But we came prepared, so we brought our pizza. We had lunch, and luckily we came with the trailer, and we had a little nap. And once we're done with all that, we were ready to go again. And here I took a picture of something I would like to see way, way more often. This was in an Ontario park, and they actually had Leaf there as part of their fleet. So my hope is that all the national parks all over Canada will not only provide EV chargers, which they don't do right now, but that they will also switch to electric fleets and get their energy from solar. Because for us, nothing is more beautiful than exploring those national parks the quiet and the clean way. For us, this just belongs together. Here we stopped at another place, private charger, and this time not only our car got a charge, but we got even offered lunch. They cooked for us, that was amazing. And other examples of places, this is a pizzeria with a charger. And in the end, we ended up at Niagara Falls. And I already said that picture of the waterfall that I showed you earlier, the really small one, I actually enjoyed that a lot more, I must say, than Niagara Falls. I mean, the falls are huge, but it's so commercialized and there's so many people that in the end, we didn't spend much time there. We made a point of visiting the Nikola Tesla statue instead and pay our homage. And it's right across from Niagara Falls. Okay, so we made it through West Ontario, and after 4,500 kilometers without Tesla chargers, we felt like this. So I was ecstatic. Rolf was totally happy, but you have to look at Kai here. I don't think he quite got it. So this for us felt like coming home. Instead of driving 50, 60 kilometers an hour, we finally could drive 100 kilometers an hour again. And I wouldn't say that we ever had range anxiety, but without the fast chargers, we did have range concerns. We were just a little bit too experienced for the anxiety. And even that was gone. So that was great.
All right, talking about apps that can help you fight that range anxiety. So for one, there's PlugShare, and we see here Victoria. You see a lot of green dots, which means those are level 2 chargers. Most of them are free, many of them are in malls, and at libraries, and in the parking garages downtown. And then you also find the one orange dot in the middle that's uptown, that's the Charamu CCS charger. And if we look more around BC, Alberta, Oregon, Idaho, you see that most places you can get fairly easily with an electric car. If you want to go really, really remote, that's a different thing. But if you're going to Kamloops or going to through the desert in Washington State or going down to Tacoma and so on, it's not an issue at all. Or going all the way over to Calgary, for that matter. So, with regards of the different apps, this is how you do things in a Tesla. Press a button, say the voice command. A few seconds later, it gives you all the chargers, and it tells you how long you have to charge. That 25 minutes, 40 minutes. 40 minutes because it's actually jumping one in between. And not only that, you can also look up how busy the chargers are. The one B in Whistler, for example, there's only one used. In Hope is over here. None is used. Kamloops, 2 of the 8 are used, and so on. Then what we found really good is en route. We already seen this picture before where it gives us the elevation, so we can plan for the elevation. But we can also look at the wind speed and where the wind is coming from. So the wind is coming from the southwest here, and which means it's directly from the side. It shouldn't affect us too much. And it is between, I think, yeah, up to 17 kilometers per hour, right on the top of that one big high pass. And then we have the temperature, this is just hovering above 0, so we probably don't have ice, but the roads may not be the best. And then here we have precipitation. And on the left-hand side, you will see that it's between very light, and the probability is somewhere between 10 and 30%. So maybe a little drizzle, but nothing more. That's on our good side too. And the good thing is that I actually had put in the next morning to leave at about 8:30. So if I would now get a big snowstorm towards the end of my trip, I just put in, I leave at 7. What does it look like now? And I can really plan for the weather. Then there are tons of other applications that you can use. So just go onto your iPhone or your Android store and look for applications. There's plenty of them.
Okay, and on towards Quebec. And Quebec really digs EVs, just like Kai does. So big thumbs up for Quebec. Going into Quebec felt like going into a candy store for a kid, because they really did it right. They have the DC fast chargers next to the superchargers, next to the slower level 2 chargers. So you come into a parking lot and you see this row of chargers, and that's like nothing we've seen before.
And it's between cities.
Yeah, and when we heard that you have to pay for the charges in Quebec many times, we were a little bit taken aback, because everywhere else it's free, so why would you have to pay in Quebec? What is that about? But it's mostly the fast chargers, and as we have experienced, I mean, it beats, paying that money beats sitting somewhere for 3 to 5 hours in the middle of the day, anytime, and it's charged by the minute, so we happily paid it. Of course, for us, it was only we had to pay things when we're not stopped at superchargers, so we didn't really use them that much. But we think it's a very common sense approach to the EV charging network. Here, yeah, we had so much that happened in Quebec. We had so many meetups, and this here shows we had a Tesla convoy actually going through Montreal, and we had a meetup in Quebec City, we had a meetup in Trois-Rivières, and the way we were perceived in that province was just unbelievable. It was such a difference. First of all, we saw many EVs driving there. And then there were so many people that would drive past us, because we were still going slower than most. And we got the thumbs up. Everywhere in Quebec, we got the thumbs up. And the signs for electric charging stations are actually implemented on the service station signs next to the highway. So it was totally integrated into today's life. And for us, that was amazing to see. And Relay Electric was a great place. Yeah.
All right, Relay Electric is run by Sylvain Juteau on the left there. Well, he started it, and he started it for his children. He said, I don't want to look into my children's eyes in 30 years and say, you knew about all this, and you did what? Nothing. So he gave up a very good paying job, and he's starting something that he calls the charging station, the gas station of the future. So this is what it looks like. There are 2 fast chargers, 6 or 8 slower chargers. The red Leaf and the blue Volt are part of his rental fleet. So if you've never had an electric car and you want to try it out, rent it for an hour, rent it for a day, rent it for a holiday weekend, or visit grandma up some country road that you don't know if you can make it with that car. and you can try it out. Inside, they have all kinds of merchandise, including 2 books that they wrote together with some industry experts that have information about 80 or 100 electric and hybrid cars. You find parking signs. You can buy chargers from them for your garage and so on. All the equipment that you may need. And you have amenities like I'm having my breakfast here. We had to bring in our own bakery stuff, but we had the coffee machine there, and they have offices. There's a lady coming 3 times a month. She rents the office there as you're coming into town.
And I said earlier, Quebec was really very busy for us because we also visited the makers of our trailer, Safari Condo. Safari Condo is run by a family. It's a family business, and they welcomed us like we didn't expect it. It was amazing. Here, the owners are showing off their Chevy Volts. They're really proud of them. And the funny thing is with those are hybrids, they're actually in competition with themselves to make sure they put as little gas into the car as possible. And then they proudly say, oh, I drove for 3 months and I didn't put any gas in my car. So this is what hybrid owners do. That was interesting to hear. And we hit it off with them right away. There was just this level of understanding. They actually got an award for sustainable development, which they really deserve. And we also got a tour of the factory. This is what our trailer looked like at some point. And they are using some really sophisticated tools. For example, here you can see all the hockey pucks that are used to keep the glass in place. We thought that was neat. And it's all handmade. And they have the retractable roofs, they have the fixed roofs, they also do vans. And then at the end of the day, they threw us and their employees a party, and a really French-style party. We had so many bottles of champagne, it was unbelievable. And that gave the employees a chance to check out our car. They were not that interested in the trailer, actually. So from there we went into New Brunswick, and we were coming slowly to the end of our trip, and we had to plan ahead a little bit because the camping season in Newfoundland was coming to an end, and because we relied so much on the campgrounds, we had to make it all the way to St. John's before the campgrounds closed. So unfortunately we had to rush through New Brunswick, but our experience was also only because you can see here how well positioned the fast chargers are in Quebec. It's just unbelievable. It's where people live and where they want to travel to. And where are the fast chargers in New Brunswick? Like literally 0. They have a few slow chargers, yes, and we used some of them, but we mostly just drove through there. That's going to change though, because just 2 weeks ago, it was announced that they're putting 10 fast charging stations along the highway, and that is a big wow. So the difference 2016 to 2017 and beyond is amazing. And then this is what it's going to look like. So
this is what I hope.
Oh, you?
I put those red dots in. There's no information. They said about every 60 kilometers along the highway will be a fast charger. So I distributed it approximately.
Okay.
That was me. That's my wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking still, okay. But also the federal government announced to spend another $120 million on a similar infrastructure all across Canada. So, woo-hoo! Here are some pictures of us doing the slow charging in the middle of the day. Not many pictures because, as I said, we didn't really spend much time. And now it's Rolf's turn.
Well, of course, everybody who has an electric car at some point is thinking about solar, right, Bert? He has more solar than I do. I have solar envy. So, as probably everybody knows, the prices of solar have just plummeted. They've gone down so much that actually the solar panel is only about 25 to 30% of the cost of putting it up. Permitting and the labor and the supporting structure is most of it. That's where we need to streamline things. Like in Germany, which had this big push for solar on your roof, they have very much automated it, and it's about 50% cheaper, the installation cost, than in North America, just because of the sheer volume. So as it goes up here in volume, we will see the same drops. This is our house roof. So we have about 10 kilowatts of solar up there. And with my iPhone or with my laptop, I can look at them. You see all the panels there. I can look at each individual panel, how much they have to produce today or last week or whatever. And what we have on the right-hand side is about 5-6 days ago, 40 kilowatt hours, almost 41 kilowatt hours I produced that day. An average house in Canada uses about 11 kilowatt hours. So during the day, I was definitely feeding about 20 houses around me with my solar, which is pretty nice. In total, I have created by now 22 megawatt hours. That's enough to drive our Tara without the trailer for 100,000 kilometers. It's in less than 2 years. I don't drive that much. Here we can see how it looks out throughout the year. Of course, summer we have our peaks, and in wintertime it's pretty low. And in summertime I can actually make 70 kilowatt hours a day. That's pretty good too. But the nicest thing is on the bottom left. Saved 15.2 tons of CO2. That makes me proud. That's a very nice feeling to have made that investment.
So by the time we left Quebec and just rushed through New Brunswick, we were really ready for a vacation. And that's what we did in PEI. We had a wonderful campground. I loved the walks there. There's a beautiful trail. And of course, I always wanted to see Green Gables. And this was our campground, and just a few shots from where I walked with Kai. It was wonderful. They have some charges on PEI, and the obligatory ice cream, of course. We had that too. Very famous. And then we went into Nova Scotia, but again, we still had to catch the ferry. But at least we had time to do Cape Breton. And you can see here there are 2 slow chargers connected to businesses on the Cabot Trail. And when we see that, we like to stop there. We like to thank them for making the effort and putting in a charger. So we usually have lunch there or dinner, or in the case of Naughty Pines, we actually stayed overnight at the cottage.
And we go in there and tell them, we are here because you have the charger.
Yeah.
That's why you got our business.
And this charger here had the most wonderful view, as nice a view as we had from our patio. So, and then finally we made it into Newfoundland, and it blew me away. I just loved it. The scenery is gorgeous. And we enjoyed a trip to the national park, Gros Morne National Park, that's here. We enjoyed the view. Some enjoyed a different view. So just a few impressions from driving through Newfoundland. We stopped not necessarily to charge, but also just to say hi. For example, here, that's a charger at a Chevy dealership. And regardless, we were not driving a Chevy, but the people came out, the people wanted to talk, they were interested in our stories, and it was always a very nice welcome we got. Kai was complaining here. And then we came closer to St. John's, and already very early on our trip, John, who lives there, contacted us and said, hey, when you come close, I want to drive with you into town. And he actually has the same car as we do, so we had a little 2 electric car convoy and drove all the way to mile 0. This was mostly just a short photo shoot, but it was nice. The deputy mayor was there to welcome us, made us feel good. And from there, we took some time off. John also offered that we could camp in his backyard. And we had that many, many times on this trip, that people we had never seen before, never heard of before. We didn't know what they looked like, but they said, "Hey guys, you want to stay with us?" Okay.
I don't know.
And then a few days later, we had our final meetup at Signal Hill. And these are some shots. And in between, of course, we also went to Cape Speare, the most eastern point of North America. And so now we think we have proven that you can cross Canada in an electric car pulling a camping trailer, and it's doable. It was easy at times. So how much easier is it to do it with an electric car? And if it's so easy to cross Canada in an electric car, then how easy is it to drive around town in an electric car? So we totally believe that in every 2-car household, already today, the second car can really easily be a 100% electric car. And there's more stories.
Yeah, we met so many amazing people, and we could spend 3 hours just on those people that we met. This is very interesting. This is a non-Tesla or electric car owner, and he saw that there's a gap in Newfoundland for chargers. So he contacted Sun Country Highway to see what it would cost to get one in there, and he went onto the internet, onto a website, and started crowdfunding, and thought that would be the major thing, is to get there about $7,000 for the charger, plus the installation and the permitting and painting the lines on the parking lot and all these things, right? Wrong. Within 2 days, he had already 62% of his goal, and a few days later, he had all the money. But finding the business to host it in that community turned out to be a real problem. In the end, he found it, and now there is a charger where we had to schedule a stop at a campground because there was no charger in the area. We literally camped a kilometer away from where the charger is now. So Silke is going to talk about BC incentives.
And I don't want to spend much time here. I just wanted to make you aware that there are incentives out there. Check out the websites. You get $5,000 for an EV through CEV for BC. Then if you hand in your old car, you get more money. And you can also apply for money if you need an electric car charger in your apartment building. So does that mean we're done? No, we're not done yet. So we went back to Nova Scotia and we met Jeff Dunn at Dalhousie University. He is heavily involved with Tesla in the battery research, and he just got a $1 million research award, so congratulations. And also, it was the time of the National Drive Electric Week, and in Halifax, or in Nova Scotia, there had never been anything like that happening, even though the whole event started 2011 and then happened annually. And even St. John's had an event during that week. So we made sure that Halifax, for the first time ever, also took part in it. And we were here at the beautiful waterfront, had a great turnout. And next door was a sustainability conference that helped a lot. So does that mean we were done now? No, because from there we spent an amazing time during the Indian summer in the New England states. Then we drove with car and trailer all the way to Florida, took 4 months off, and then drove back through California to BC here, Victoria, and we just came home a week and a half ago. Some final remarks? And you gotta be fast. We're running out of time here.
I know we are way over. We're slow. We're in an electric car. We can't go that fast.
You just
So
go faster.
this animation shows nicely how our temperature is slowly running out of control. You see how it accelerates towards the end. but can the people in this room actually do something about it? And I firmly believe we can, because 60% of all the transportation emissions are done by light-duty vehicles, so cars and pickup trucks and vans. Not heavy industry, not airplanes, not shipping. It's us and the transportation. And if we look at the energy, electricity generation, which the majority goes to private homes, and transportation make up 3/4 of that carbon dioxide footprint in North America. And we have influence on that very, very much.
Okay, video is quitting, but we can still continue with the presentation. We have just a few more slides to share. Okay. So what's next for us? Well, we will do more blog and social media. We will do a lot more environmental activism. Rolf is also available for questions regarding solar. And then we have a kind request to you guys. And we understand that the desire to be well-informed is often at odds with the desire to remain sane. But we ask you, please get involved. Please get informed, get involved. Don't sit this one out. And never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. If you want to connect with us, there's a blog. We have 50 videos on our YouTube channel, or connect with us through social media.
Or see us outside for questions, because we
yes,
don't have time for that.
Questions we bring outside. So thank you. Come and visit us.